simple fact that The Hague accepted the paperwork, by definition, locks them into some sort of binding arrangement?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. This is exactly and only a notification process. I want to make that perfectly clear.
Okay.
What happens through receipt of the paperwork is that it goes into the Hague record. And in that manner, the notification then is a publication, like you'd use in a newspaper to advertise, I'm not responsible for my debts any further. Well, This thing says, we are now a sovereign nation state.
Wow,
and
gotcha.
It's very similar to that, only this is an international newspaper, in effect. We have basically, by sending one little pack like that, created a sovereign, independent nation state.
Wow.
Okay, so as soon as they got receipt that this thing had been delivered, they got a call from a higher up in the Pentagon. And that person says, I understand you guys have been doing some notification internationally? Yes. I understand that you seem to find this process as being rather simple? Yes. The next thing was, do you think you can replicate or reproduce that sucker? And the person went, I don't know. And what you got right then was, I have no idea, quite simply. We can see what's available. We can try and find out. The person at the Pentagon, I'm not going to say that it's a guy because I'm not going to put gender on it, simply that, it could be a female. The people at the Pentagon said, go for it, let's see what happens. They said, okay, we'll give it a shot. Now, these people are involved in freedom just like I was. They wanted to be able to do something that was real, proactive, didn't get anybody in trouble, and yet was something that could be also used in other ways. Okay, they didn't know at the time what that little simplistic package for that one state did, and didn't find out until after they started researching it.
What's the time window we're talking about right now?
In terms of
when this all happened?
This happened, started in about October of last year.
Okay.
Which is not an exact date. As of November, we decided that we were going to move on this. I got involved because I knew one of the people that had been involved with these people before anyway, and was requested, hey, would you like to be involved in this? And I said, sounds good to me. It's better than anything else I've seen. And then when they hit me with the idea of what it contained, I said, no, wait a minute. I was on a radio show and I explained to them what happened, and they said, really? Okay, so here you go. You got somebody getting upset because some idiot gets on a radio show. He tells them what they can do with themselves and how to do it for real, instead of playing games with things. Somebody takes notes, they do it, and all of a sudden officials from the government in the military are interested. Can you do it again? And along with that, there's a combination of other people involved with their own shows at different times during the week. And these people, I met those people and got involved sort of indirectly with them. The whole thing...
right, I was going to say, it would seem that each state is going to have squirrely barriers to go through, different from Pennsylvania, in order to get this all off the ground.
Well, it depends on whether or not you're part of the original 13 colonies, and or whether or not your constitution is de jure, which is lawful by common law, or de facto, which is the corporate government. There's a difference.
Okay, gotcha.
I hate those keywords simply because when people hear it, they turn the friggin' TV off. They don't want to hear that. Well, I'm sorry, but you do need to pay attention to the difference.
Right.
At any rate, so we start boogieing with this. Okay, we'll take the project and we'll run with it. We were able to receive notice on about the end of February of this year that the whole package of a majority of the states had been received by The Hague. In other words, each little nation-state package went into a big box, and the big box was delivered to The Hague, and we got notification of the entire package. Now,
let me ask you this.
Yes.
If the military, in its oath to defend the Constitution of the United States against domestic enemies, gets word of a civilian-based initiative which demonstrates that the states wish to have their sovereignty returned to them, doesn't that legally give them the right to move forward on this and enforce the will of the majority of the states?
Well, that's part of the process I'm coming to.
Okay, great.
This is not just a simplistic process of sending a newspaper clipping overseas.
Oh, I get that.
Receipt that it got to where it was going. So, the basic premise of a nation state is this: what most people used was either their own constitution or they wrote one. It had to agree with the 1787 United States Constitution, to include the 13th, and I mean the original 13th Amendment, where certain people are not allowed to hold foreign offices here in the States. The Bill of Rights, the Articles of Confederation, and that real cool document called the Declaration of Independence. By declaring our sovereignty and our disengagement, or our effort to remove ourselves being individual states, from the corporate United States government, what this did was this rebirthed the Declaration of Independence, which states on page 2 that when the government gets out of whack, you got the right to take care of the problem.
Absolutely.
Now, here's the other part of this. The manner and format of using those documents, the original founding documents, in conjunction with a meeting by representative residents of a state, gives those people the right to make the declaration. This then gives legal authority by the civilian authority to the military to take actions as necessary to back up the civilian action.
That's what I thought. Okay, perfect.
It's kind of convoluted, and I know it's not real simple, but simply, we sent off notification. The military gave us a gold star. They just loved it. Okay.
Now, I'm assuming that just so people get clear on this, you're not talking about just a group of ordinary folks who are like surfing the net and listening to truth radio. These are actually people who have some degree of influence in these states that you were networking with. No.
As a matter of fact, some of them are not very well educated. And I'm going to make this perfectly clear. You don't need influence in order to take certain actions.
I see. So the simple fact that we are all American citizens, everyone whom you're speaking about, myself included, any citizen has the right to do this.
Yes, basically.
Okay, perfect.
Now, the premise is this. In terms of declaring your state as free of the United States government, and I'm talking about the corporate government and all of its affiliates, what happens is that each state becomes, according to the notification process, its own sovereign nation. So this is where the nation-states handle comes from.
I see.
It's just a plurality of what individual states did. You have to have a certain number of people who reside in each state in order to accomplish the process. It's not difficult. We do have backup and assistance for that if somebody has problems. So in our effort, we got not only a majority of the states, enough of the majority of the states to have a cushion in case there was some problem with some of the paperwork, along with a fair group of Indian nations who also submitted paperwork in such a fashion that the basis is this. The United States has been set free from the corporate government, literally, on a lawful basis, as recognized internationally.
Well, I can hear the howling laughter of skeptics who are already stroking their egos and saying, oh, sure, he can say whatever he wants, but if it ever even made it up to the Supreme Court, they would just knock it down, just like they appointed Bush in the whole election debacle between Bush and Gore.
Not exactly.
Okay.
As I stated, I went back to the origins of law. And the origins of law come from the origins of law as written on cuneiform tablets by the ancient Sumerians. The tablet that I was privileged to get a copy of comes from somewhere in the neighborhood of 11,000 BC.
Wow.
Okay, from that tablet, you got ecclesiastic law. From ecclesiastic law, you got canon law. From the combination of ecclesiastic and canon law, you have all of your statutes and regulations that are considered law under common law.
And
now,
this underlies...
common law was developed basically in England so that the poor serf, and this is the hired hand that works the land and tries to feed his family and make money for the boss,
right,
would have some form of protection in case the some dude they were working for decided to go crazy and kick him off the land. He could object. That's where common law comes in. The basis and premise of common law is simple. It contains two basic things. One is no injured party and no property damage, and it's property of any kind, no crime. Just that simple. This is the basis for much of the legal documentation that we used. It's also some of the basis for which we used the process. Now, the neat thing about this is that the manner of the process steps outside of both ecclesiastic-based law and canon law. Any form of statute, be that local, state, national, or international. And it protects itself because it does not state anything that other than the simple notification process. So it stays within the system, but also is set in such a fashion that it's outside of any challenge. This was the idea that I was trying to find out about.
Well, these occult governments obviously don't want people knowing about this, and that appears to be why you had so much trouble getting those documents.
That's pretty much part of it. Now, the rest of it is that they found out about the process we were using and interfered with that as much as possible. Certain notary seals were challenged. Certain Secretary of State offices refused apostilling documentation, and a whole bunch of things. However, in spite of all the fun and games, we did get it done. It has been delivered. The copy, and I'm talking about the real copy. This is not something you run off a copy machine, but something that is traditionally accepted as a de jure copy of the legal documents, was submitted to the correct people in the military, who were just delighted to find this. Oh. Now, I'm going to go back to something else. Back in the day, I was involved with nuclear defense of the country. I had some rather high security clearances, etc. Due to that fact, I was allowed at a later date. Now, this is after the security clearances and whatnot, but I had proved that I was trustworthy because there was nothing that I let out that was classified. There was nothing that was of a sensitive nature that I would divulge, even though I knew them. And I talked to a couple of people about this. Eventually, I was given this certain person wanted to know about me, and so I got interviewed a couple of times by some colonels and whatnot. And finally, the guy said, one of them showed up in the staff car and said,